What is going on, guys? Carter from Edge Mindset here. We're taking a look at this big mamma jamma. This is the Midgards Messer Big Viking V2. So they make a smaller version of this, the Little Viking. Unfortunately, I haven't handled that one, so I don't know how it compares. But this thing, this is a monster. This is a monster knife, but it has a couple things really going for it, in my opinion, that are kind of cool. And I'm going to touch on those here in this video, as well as some of the stuff I don't like. Now, full disclaimer, I paid for this with my own money. However, I'm about to sell it. So I am letting this one go. But it is going to be kind of hard because I do like this one. Let's do some specs, get out of the way so you have an idea of just how massive this knife really is. 4¼ inch blade. For a knife this beefy, heavy, and big, that is a massive frickin' blade. Overall length is like, what, 9.5, 9¼ No. Oh my gosh, I can't read. 9.5 inches, just over 9.5 inches. So, huge knife. If we do some size comparisons, here it is to a SNG. So it makes the SNG look like a little baby knife. Here it is next to an SMF. Once again, you know, I remember when the SMF was like kind of the reigning champion of overbuilt huge knives. And nowadays, it's not so big. It's not so crazy big anymore. Let's do Raja 3 just for fun. There it is next to a Raja 3 for those cold steel fanboys out there. And of course, we've got the obligatory paramilitary 2. So very big. Look at the thickness too. Look at the thonkness on this knife. It is absolutely massive. Heavy too, like way heavy, really heavy. So that is one of the downsides with this knife, in case you were wondering. 12.2 ounces. It is a monster heavy beast, and that's because it has no skeletonization whatsoever in here. It is solid, thick chunks of titanium. You just have this frag pattern here that has any sort of, I guess you could call it weight reduction, maybe like 1/4 ounce of material removed, maybe. Big, thick stock blade. Let's compare the blade stock to the SMF. Blows it out of the water, as you can see. It is super, super thick. What kind of use would you have for this knife? Well, it's the shovel. You know, if you need to use it as a shovel. I'm only partially joking, right? You could legit use this kind of to remove material. You've got this really thick Japanese Tanto style blade. I mean, really, like, I don't know, it's kind of weird calling this a Tanto because it's so snubby, but yeah, it's a Tanto, and it's Japanese style because it's curved up front here. So I guess that's what you would call it. But look how thick that tip is. So yeah, you could use this for sticking into material, wood. I mean, you could put this in a tree trunk and just pry out some kindling this way rather than cutting it. I don't know why you would do that, but if you wanted to do that, you could do that. Very thick behind the edge. Definitely can cut. It's sharp out of the box, but it's not a slicer by any means. I mean, you can see how short this primary bevel is. All this real estate up here is just the flat and the fuller, and then you got a swedge up top. This is all just thick, chunky steel. It's rocking CPM D2, which is really good stuff. You know, we've harped on this here in the knife community over and over again, that CPM D2 and D2 are miles apart. CPM D2 is some pretty nice, hard use, good quality steel. Now, it's not the most expensive, cutting edge super steel, but it's no slouch either. It's pretty good stuff, and I think it was a good choice for this particular knife. Got the Midgards logo right there. Serial number 520. I don't think this is a limited edition. I don't see an out of number, and I haven't heard of it being a limited edition, so I don't think it is. Deployment method is flicking it with the weight, two-hand opening, or if you go low enough, you can actually put your thumb in the fuller and open it that way. Kind of a slow roll kind of thing. You got to be careful because well, not really careful, but you got to be conscious of it because the ledge on this fuller here is pretty soft. It's not a hard cut ledge like on a Praetorian is. And yes, this is very Praetorian T like. There is a lot of similarities here, but by no means did this steal anything from the Praetorian series. It just has a lot of overlap in terms of design, use, materials, things like that. Got a nice ramp up here with the jimping. The jimping is big. It's not cut super sharp, but because it's on a ramp here, it works really, really well. Solid slabs of titanium. You've got anodized hardware. I assume it's titanium as well if it's anodized. In my opinion, it's a little much. I'd prefer this to be silver hardware, I think. Maybe even black. Might look kind of cool. I don't love blue anodized satin stuff. For some reason, just rings cheap to me. I don't like this color ano blue. If I'm getting blue, I want it to be kind of more of this matte type blue. I really like this blue, but I don't like this hardware. Maybe it's just me, personal pet peeve, I don't know. Got the designer signature right there, which is really classy, looks really nice. A lot of cool details, you know, chamfering on this back spacer. You've got this gear pattern right there, which works for grip, but it also just looks nice, as well as on the back here for ice pick grip, reverse grip. Put your thumb on there, you got plenty of purchase. The ergonomics on this knife are really, really good. It's one of those knives where it kind of feels like you took a piece of clay and just squoze it with your hand and then made a perfect impression of it. One of the better feeling knives I've had in a little while. There's really no hot spots. You feel some of this texture, right? You squeeze hard enough, you can see it leaving some imprints there. It's definitely steel, right? Or metal. You're squeezing metal. It's not like you're squeezing memory foam, but it is way comfortable. And that's because of all of this rounding. Well, it's the general ergonomics, but all of this rounding, you can see it's not even chamfered. It's full on melted edges. Really, really nice. No milling marks or anything. The machining on this thing is outstanding. Feels really good in the hand. You can see how big it is. I got decently good sized hands, and look how much is hanging out there. You can even choke back just like a cold steel knife and squeeze it comfortably right here as well to get more reach. If you're chopping something or trying to just get more apex kind of leverage up here on the tip, or you just need to reach further, you can grip it back here, and because of this lip right there, it's not going to fly out of your hands if you're kind of doing some heavy duty chopping or anything like that. So really, really good on the ergonomics. You got an over travel here. Now, if you saw my unboxing video, you know I was really pissed off about this thing because when I opened it, it was just flopping around willy-nilly, and while I was trying to do my overview with the unboxing, it was locking itself when I didn't intend it to. Terrible design. I since found out that it plagues all of these, or at least enough of them to be an issue. Everybody I talked to that had one of these said it was the same thing. And you can't just tighten it down like you usually can on RotoLocks. Because of how they have this screw set up, it's got an actual smooth collar up towards the head, and that's what allows this to freely spin. So you can't just screw it down. Right now, I put a rubber O-ring underneath the disc, so the screw goes through the O-ring, and so now it's got plenty of tension, so it's not going to accidentally lock itself. In fact, you have to really kind of mean to lock it if you want to. You almost have to use your nail to get it to lock, which personally I prefer because I never use these RotoLocks, and I'd rather just keep it in the open position and just use the regular frame lock, not have anything in addition. But you can still technically use this with that grommet there. Some of the anodization or coating came off of that screw there. It was kind of like that when I got it. Looks a little bit out of place, but whatever. Lock bar insert, it's hidden, so it comes from the inside, but you do... No, actually, that's the screw head right there. So my bad, it's just inset. You can see that it actually fits inside there. So it does screw from the outside here, but it's pretty unobtrusive. It doesn't poke up. Lockup on this thing is 100% bank vault, rock frickin' solid. Really good lockup on this knife. Doesn't wiggle at all. Pocket clip, very functional, but insanely huge. So you're looking at about here, so quite a bit of this knife is going to be poking out, because even though it looks like it comes all the way up here, because of that screw, you're actually looking about there. So definitely not a deep carry knife. And then you've got this giant pocket clip hanging out. But, you know, the tension on this thing is really tough and good. It slides in the pants reasonably okay. I kind of wish it had a little bit more of a lip up here. If you've got kind of thicker jeans, it can be a bit of a struggle to really push that in. But one thing you could do is just remove some of this tension by bending this out a little bit, and that should fix that problem. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to sell this knife, but that is one thing you can do. Everything is done super clean inside and out. Really good machining. I'm not sure who manufactures this knife. That is one of the things with Midgards Messer. They don't really advertise who the OEM is very openly. I don't know if that's on purpose or they just don't really do it. They get a lot of stuff made by Fox Knives in Italy, but they've also, I believe, made stuff in China. I would assume this would have to be a Chinese-made knife just due to the price point. These are retailing about $360, and I really don't see Fox making these for that price point. You know, Fox isn't as expensive as U.S. manufacturer, but it's not, you know, nearly as inexpensive as like Chinese or Taiwan or anywhere else. So I'm assuming just based off the price point, it would have to be a Chinese-made knife. Nothing about it, though, screams Chinese-made. Right? It doesn't feel Chinese-made. I just don't see how it could, at that price point, be made anywhere else. But correct me if I'm wrong. The other thing is this is one of the smoothest knives in my collection. Part of it is because the blade is so heavy, but it is buttery smooth. It's like floating on glass. It is super, super smooth. The detent is also really, really nice. Just kind of sucks in right there. With a heavy blade like this, though, obviously you can just fling it open. There's a lot of mass there to open it up. But overall, I think this is a win. There's a couple gripes I have. Don't love the blue. Don't love the RotoLock. It is one of those things where it's a cool kind of novelty, but it's just so big and heavy. It's hard to take it completely seriously. But it is a cool knife, and I regret kind of selling it, especially at the price these go for. I think they are an absolute banger of a value, regardless of where they're made. I think you will like this. If you like big, heavy knives that can take all kinds of abuse, but are designed well and are comfortable, you're going to like this one, I think. So let me know down below. What do you think of this knife? Is this something you would ever get? I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care. Appreciate all of you. Have a good one, man.